Yo, KarQ here. My apologies for the lack of uploads on the KarQ Archives channel. I know a lot of people are missing the hot takes and the Reddit stuff and the suggestions box. We'll be back in full swing when Season 15 begins in a couple of weeks. I'm just trying to figure out a good way to balance my time between the Rivals channel and this one and my main channel and the streams, etc., etc. But you're here for the director's take, looking back and looking ahead by Aaron Keller, which gives a lot of insight for what's happening for the rest of 2025, and Overwatch needs to fight back, right? Let's call a spade. Rivals has definitely made a big splash, and Overwatch needs to do something this year, so let's see what they've cooked up. Aaron says, hey everyone, it's our first director's take of the year. The team had a great break and we're super excited for Season 15 and beyond. You might have noticed our recent announcement for the Overwatch 2 Spotlight, and I can't wait for you to see what we have coming up during the first few seasons of this year. So for this blog, I want to spend a little time looking at some of the changes we made last year, talk about how they went, and how we want to improve them for the coming year, all while shamelessly plugging the Overwatch 2 Spotlight, so let's get into it. So that Overwatch 2 Spotlight is an announcement of an announcement saying stay tuned on February 15th or 14th for some big news on what's happening. So, okay, Aaron says we started last year with a set of changes targeted at moment-to-moment gameplay and our competitive systems. We made a set of broad changes to our core PvP gameplay by rebalancing our heroes' health pools. I can't believe it's been over a year now, my god. Changing projectile sizes and reworking passives. We also completely overhauled our competitive system. We think that the idea of a yearly refresh to the game was successful and are looking to have a major update to the way it plays every year. However, we want to go even bigger in 2025, details to come in Spotlight, as well as the next Director's Take blog. So that's interesting, because they were teasing when they made all the changes last year, people were saying the game is cooked or whatever, but I enjoyed Season 9, February 2024 with the HP changes. That was like the most ranked I played in Overwatch since the launch of Overwatch. There's like two major moments for me playing the most of this game since Overwatch 2. The release, October 2022, and that Season 9 change in February 2024. If they do it well this year, I'll be back and juggling Rivals a bit more. Aaron says we are pretty happy with the new direction of competitive play. The game is now more approachable for new players, and it's easier than ever to group up with your friends and play together in competitive. This approach to doing a ranked reset worked well and gave players both new and seasoned a new skill tier to reach. However, the champion rank, has proven to be a little too difficult for our top players to achieve. As we approach Season 15, we're looking to adjust how players rank into different skill tiers after we reset the ranks again. Our highest ranks will shift to include a larger percentage of our total player population, and we should see more players earn the right to call themselves champions. We're also looking to introduce some new systems to our competitive play, the first of which will be announced in a few weeks. So the big takeaway in this paragraph, more people are going to get into champion. They're probably spreading out the curve in the distribution a bit more. So if you're playing in GM, you're probably going to gain a lot more. A lot of like former GM1 players pre-Season 9 are all around like high GM and low Masters right now. So pushing this closer into champion because there's a new rank seems to be a pretty good approach. Aaron now says we've heard two primary complaints about 2024's competitive weapon reward. Jade weapons. One of the biggest criticisms we've heard is how our Jade weapon variants are getting vaulted at the end of the season. That is also a criticism of mine. I don't know why they're doing that. Let's see what he has to say. Competitive weapons are intended to show your involvement in our competitive queues per year. As time goes on, you will have a different set of weapons based on how often you play comp each year. Keeping competitive weapons limited to the year gives them the ability to tell that story. Some of you have been hoping for a weapon skin that has a higher end look to it, and we've got something for 2025 that is pretty spectacular. So while Jade weapon variants are going away for now, we've got an amazing new weapon variant to collect in 2025 that will be out of this world. I'm still not a fan of this. I still think you should be able to use your legacy points to buy Jade or gold, and then use the competitive points of this season to buy whatever they're cooking up right now. Like, I know you're saying limiting them to the year gives them the ability to tell that story, but it also makes people feel annoyed. So like, I think you should just drop that idea and just let people buy it with legacy points, kind of like a hybrid of your current system versus just having everything available with competitive points all together. Like, they made the whole system where it's like you can only buy golden weapons right now with legacy points, and the new competitive can only buy new competitive. Why overcomplicate it and just keep it at, you know, just earn your currency by playing ranked and then buy any of the variants, gold, jade, or whatever you're cooking up in 2025. That just simplifies it and doesn't piss as many people off versus like the FOMO, the artificial FOMO you're trying to create. Personally, I'm not a fan of this, but this may be like a decision by higher executive marketing, psychology, market researchers or whatever, which is kind of a shame that it's come down to that. Additionally, we also love the responses to drives, competitive drives, and I think it's a great way to end each season, which is why for this final season, the 2024 season, we're offering double competitive points that you can get. Okay, I think the drives are a nicer cosmetic. Again, competitive drives is that like that purple name or the red name from the previous season. It's just a end of season way to help with engagement and help with player retention, because usually at the end of every live service season of any game, like player population and player count goes down, and then it spikes again when a new season comes up. So an end of season final weekend push to earn a small cosmetic can help lift up that curve for their, corporate metrics probably. Okay, now let's look at heroes. The 3 heroes this past year have been some of our most mobile and 3-dimensional heroes yet. Our quirky and adventurous archaeologist Venture quite literally got underneath opponents and shook things up. Juno glided into the scene with a unique vertical range to keep her allies healthy, and finally Hazard brought a new level of anarchy as our first tank that can climb walls. Each of these heroes has introduced a level of verticality that really makes battles more dynamic, and we want to continue bringing new heroes that can be engaging for both those of you using them and opponents playing against them. I will say, I think the heroes, they nailed the 3 heroes this year. I think Juno, Venture, and Hazard are great heroes. The numbers are definitely overtuned. Juno's been tuned down enough now in this most recent patch that she's acceptable finally. Took a long time. Venture's been pretty balanced for a while, and I think Hazard, his numbers are too high, but his design is pretty cool. These are way better than the Mauga design, the Lifeweaver design of 2023. Those were kind of disasters, but this one, this year, or 2024, they did a pretty good job, I will say that. Looking ahead to 2025, we're looking at how well we can make all of our heroes more engaging and unique for players, and this is something the team is wanting to change up and look forward to sharing more soon. Did I mention you're going to want to check out the Spotlight? So a lot of this article is the announcement of the announcement. They're really telling you to tune in February 15th for that Overwatch 2 Spotlight, because they don't want to over-reveal too much. We also ran our first 6v6 events last year and early this year. These took the form of 6v6 role queue and 6v6 minimum 1, maximum 3. The role queue version accounted for nearly 10% of all play hours in the game for most of its event run, and for reference, our role queue quick play mode accounts for roughly 35 to 40% of play hours, and this was lower during the 6v6 test. There's definitely a demand for a mode with this team size, but it's still uncertain how large that demand is. We're going to run a mini competitive season of 6v6 starting mid-season 15. It's still a little too early to say what 6v6's place is in Overwatch with a decent amount of people playing it. I think that it's probably here to stay in some form, but so far we're not ready to swap the core format of the game. So 6v6, there's interest 100% for sure, but it's probably lower than people expected. 10% is not as high as I thought. Everybody thought this would be the 5v5 killer, but 90% of the population is playing other modes besides 6v6. But I will also say it came out at a pretty rough time. Like I mentioned earlier, like we have eyes, right? Rivals is definitely is a big competitor and pushed a lot of players away from the game. So the game should also have a permanent 6v6 mode, but I guess there's just still uncertain whether it's 2-2-2 or the minimum 1, maximum 3 at this point, but in some capacity, hopefully. That being said, I don't think 6v6 is actually going to be the game changer that people think it is. I think a refreshed 5v5 PvP format, and that maybe applies to 6v6, like having 2 modes to queue in with separate ranks could maybe sway some people, but it's going to take a little more than that. In any case, speaking of game modes, we want to take a moment on what to expect for Clash in quick play and competitive. This past year, we introduced Clash, like Hanaoka and Throne of Anubis, which was inspired by the original Assault maps and gave players a chance to attack and defend throughout the course of the match. Clash had some really good matches, but we've also seen a lot of constructive feedback. Right now, Clash has a few problems with some matches having a team steamroll and ending much faster than a typical Overwatch game. It can also be confusing as to which point is active for some players. So starting in Season 15, Clash maps are going to be removed from competitive. Oh my god. As we take the time to look at these maps and work to find ways to deliver the best competitive experience for all of our players. We'll keep you updated on the progress we make there. In the meantime, we're going to keep Clash in quick play and other unranked game modes. 2024 was a huge year, but I know 2025 is going to be even bigger, and I can't wait for the team to share more on the Overwatch 2 Spotlight on February 12th. Oh my god. It was hard to write this one last time, I promise. So until then, let's make a great game. So my bet on February 15th, February 12th is apparently the day. Wow, Clash being removed from comp is crazy. I've always felt that Blizzard was a little hesitant to remove things that weren't good, but it seems like there's been enough feedback to be like, hey, Clash, not it. And I think the game has enough game modes to keep the competitive players happy. We have, Push, which isn't very favored, but it's okay. We have Flashpoint, Hybrid, Escort, Control. Like, I think there's plenty, and removing Clash doesn't hurt anybody, but the fact that they're keeping it in quick play, if they're gonna make that decision, which I'm okay with, by the way, I actually think they should just bring back the assault maps in quick play if we're going that route of removing it from competitive, because I do feel like some people miss that mode, and if it's quick play, like, who cares, right? Throw it in there and see. It'll hit that audience that misses those old maps. Maybe it may frustrate some of the new players, but it's quick play. It's pretty low intensity. Maybe weigh it kind of low in terms of the frequency it shows up, but splashing it in here and there could make the quick play experience a lot more interesting and dynamic. Anybody's thoughts? Anybody agree? Disagree? In any case, this blog didn't have too much information. It's mostly an insight check, which is kind of what I expected. So you basically just got to tune in February 12th to get the bigger chunk of what's happening for the rest of the year. But that's Aaron Keller's thoughts on the game. What do you guys think? Are you guys still actively playing Overwatch a lot? Are you playing Rivals? Are you playing different games? Are you on a break until big things happen? Let me know, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.